actionfiguresresource.com.
The Action Figure Resource Guide to eBay. Part 1. Valuing your figure. Founded in 1995, eBay didn't really make an impact until the turn of the century when the average man realized that the internet existed. Since then, it has enjoyed constant annual growth and has absolutely and without question transformed the action figure collecting market. Since so many products change hands on an hourly basis, you can use eBay in clever ways to assess the market value of not only your action figures, but pretty much anything in your house. So let's begin with a basic valuing process. 1. Go to the search box. 2. Type in the name of your figure. In some cases you might not know the specific name, especially if it's loose with no box to give you specifics, like this one. We'll cover working out what figure you've got in a future video. 3. Be specific with keywords. What I have here is a Mattel Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man. That gets me 109 results. When you start with the searching, you'll notice recurring, shortened terms and abbreviations. In this case, MO2 Classics He-Man, M-O-T-U. That gives me a slightly more focused 106 results. Sometimes, if you want the broadest search, you may be better off without these abbreviations, but on other occasions, you might be looking for a very specific figure. 4. Now the default sorting order is Best Match, which is pretty spurious as a title since often it will throw up irrelevant auctions which just happen to have lots and lots of keywords in their title. We're looking at ascertaining a median value, so switch that to price plus P&P highest first. P&P being postage and packing. That gives us a highest sale price of £218.83. 5. Just for fun, switch that to price plus P&P lowest first. That gives us a sword at £1.99 with a £1.50 postage. Unlike the buy it now category for the highest item, this one is an auction. We'll go into the fundamental differences of them in a future video. 6. Now the main issue we have here is that a lot of people tend to put He-Man in their listing title even though the figure isn't He-Man, simply because as a lead character his name is synonymous with the brand. This isn't something you can really avoid if you're actually dealing with He-Man himself, or a similarly iconic character. 7. So we have to trawl through 106 listings to find this figure. One way we can improve our search is by entering the word loose alongside the MO2 Classics He-Man, because this figure has no box and thus should theoretically command a completely different price. 8. This gives us a grand total of 0 listings. However, I live in the UK and eBay is now suggesting 26 listings from international sellers. I'll leave that one for now. 9. So get rid of loose again and start scrolling down the 106 listings we were looking at in the first place, being sold by people savvy enough to use the abbreviation MO2. 10. Here we are at the beginning of the second of 2 pages, boxed He-Man at auction for £29.99 starting bid plus £4.20 postage. It's from a private seller with a well-written listing, descriptive and attentive to detail. If I had one of these boxed, I could conclude that this is the market value. Except that it's not the value, this is just the highest minimum bid price being asked for. 11. Go back to the listing selection again. Scrolling down, I'm finding no other He-Man figures of this kind in the other 105 listings, so we can conclude that this is the only available Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man on eBay in the world. 12. However, this isn't a search for the whole world, just a search for the listings actively on eBay UK. Go to the item location selection box, which you will find in a column on the left, and change that parameter. I'm approaching this as a UK-based collector, but learning the following processes can be applied the whole world over, whatever region you live in. 13. Within the UK is always an equal or smaller amount of listings because of the instances of international sellers willing to ship. In this case, 76 listings means 30 of the previous 106 on eBay UK were international. 14. Within the European Union draws 270 listings. Nearly all of these will ship to the UK, though usually at considerably higher prices than standard mainland shipping. 15. Worldwide yields 1,014, and that's far too many to sift through, so let's narrow it down again. Re-enter loose in the search box. 16, 26 results, scroll down that list. Finally, a loose version. This is the only one available and it's $44.99 or £28.13 with $15.02 or £9.39 international postage. However, that doesn't actually help me personally. If I lived in America, it would give me an idea of how much the only available loose He-Man from the Motu Classics line would cost me. But it doesn't tell me how much people are prepared to pay within the UK, and I can't assume I'd get an American buyer prepared to pay equivocal prices to a domestic purchase. The territory you're dealing with is absolutely key to surmising the value of your figures to the people most likely to be inclined to buy them from you. 17. So we go back to the list. Go to Show Only, which will be on the bar on the left underneath Item Location, and click Completed Listings. Now this is a major game changer because it alters your results from what people are trying to sell today to what people successfully sold yesterday. Until it's actually sold, a figure is only potentially worth whatever its commanding price is. Right here you have the biting point of the collecting process, that area between assessed worth and value paid for. 18. It's still displaying the loose figures on an international scale, so we need to narrow it back down to the UK only. 19. What we now have here is the two loose He-Man Motu Classics figures that sold in the past few weeks. One is Thunder Punch He-Man, so not relevant. The other one is this exact figure, which sold at £21.99 within the UK, with $4.99 postage. 20. Ideally, I'd like to get a range of different sales amounts. So once again we get rid of the word loose, and what we get is multiple successful sold carded listings within the UK, ranging from £43.77, £31.50, £23.59, £22, and here's a loose version which doesn't have the word loose in the title. Always be aware that plenty of sellers will work outside of these guidelines like this. There's another with a box included, technically loose but not classified as such. If you don't shop around, you may miss out on mislabeled bargains like these. 21. Okay, so our boxed examples range from £22 to £43 plus postage, and loose, which is what I must practically classify this for, ranges from £22 to £24.50 plus postage. It's nice to believe we can sell our figures for the same or more than the other identical examples with some attentive listing, but I tend to knock £1 or so off the highest amount paid and surmise that my figure is worth that. If the time comes to sell your figure, valuing it is the first step, and the question then becomes, what's the smallest amount you will take for it? More on that in future videos. 22. In which case the market value according to eBay for a loose Masters of the Universe Classics He-Man within the UK is about £23. 23. Freshly carded, it could potentially have made up to £42, representing around a 45% drop in value, purely through unboxing, but again, only potentially. I could have bought this one boxed for the same £23, so it really is a case of shopping around. And there are many variables that can net you a bargain or leave a figure you're selling undervalued by potential buyers, and we'll talk about them in another video. 24. If I was looking for this within the USA, its average loose selling price seems to be around $26.50, which is £16.59. Now this is hugely affected by three factors. Firstly, as a mail order only specialist figure available from MattyCollector.com, UK buyers have been paying considerably more for international postage, thus keeping the resale value within the UK high. Secondly, due to the massive popularity within the USA, there is a huge market share in loose figures being sold back and forth by collectors. Without that initial overseas penalty, the numbers and availability stimulate sales and thus lower the average prices. So technically, while my He-Man is worth more in the UK to other UK buyers, it's worth considerably less in the USA, even without adding on the international postage costs a US buyer would have to needlessly shell out on for mine. Oh, and thirdly, this particular $26 He-Man was produced with a design quirk that meant he has tired-looking red eyes. This was evidently not a popular variant. 25. A further tip is requesting only the successfully sold listings, trimming out the unsold ones. Check the difference between them and see what might have led the unsold ones to remain that way. Were they overpriced? Was the listing clumsy or full of mistakes? Did the seller have terrible feedback? Learn these details and get to know your figure lines from the other examples changing hands every day. I have been Alex Shaw. Stay close to Action Figure Resource for more eBay tips videos coming very soon.